Hello and welcome to a live deprogram with Keri Smith. I am your host, Keri. It is Friday, June 13th. I hope you're having a great week, getting ready for the leftist insanity that's going to be happening this weekend. If you live near a large city, um, I'm just going to say right up front, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I have a bit of an upset stomach, so please bear with me. Say a prayer for me. I was like, I gotta do this show though, because I want to talk about the craziness that's upcoming. So, good to see you guys. Squat and Pee. Hey, what's up, girl? It's almost my birthday. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday. It is Friday the 13th. That's true, Z Highness. Uh, and tomorrow there's going to be a lot of insanity. Just one quick announcement for any regulars. I see a lot of regulars in the chat. I just got a new writing gig, which is great. However, it might impact my streaming schedule. I'm not sure yet. It depends on. I'm going to find out next week. So I'll post an announcement if it does. But I'm very excited about it. I'm really excited to be working on this project, and I'll share more about it when I'm able to. But just to give you a little heads up, for now, everything's the same. We're still doing book club on Thursday. We've been reading The Return of the Strong Gods by R.R. Reno. If you want to join us on Thursday, send me an email at deprogrampod@gmail.com and I'll give you all the info. And yeah, it's good to see you guys. Okay, so there's a lot of insanity unfolding, and we're used to this by now. It's always the same. It's always the same. The leftists, there are lots of people who've been waking up in the past few years. So first of all, let's start with a positive note. I'm one of those people. I woke up 8 years ago. I was in the woke left. I was in this crazy insanity. I was at every protest. I was at every protest that turned into riots. Back then I was at all the anti-Bush stuff. You would see all the same groups a lot of the same groups anyway that you see now. There's also new ones now, but you would see the Answer Coalition. You would see Color for Change. You would see all these different groups, and they're still doing the same old thing. While a lot of people have been waking up, the hardcore leftists continue to double down, and they don't learn their lesson. I just want to share this article as we get into this. This is an article from Fox News. I saw it in a couple of other places as well. I think I saw it on Yahoo or something at first. Anti-ICE riots revealed the left has learned nothing. It's just handed Trump a gift. Here's the silver lining. Every time they overreact, every time they go out in the streets and they cause destruction and violence and mayhem like they've been doing in Los Angeles, they started doing here in Austin and other cities. And this week is their big, hilarious No Kings protest is happening tomorrow in cities all around the country. Same old clowns that we always see. But every time they do this, and we see the pictures and we see the footage and normies see what they're doing in the streets, more people wake up. They shoot themselves in their foot. So this article is kind of sharing some of those sentiments. It says, doesn't the left understand that rioters waving Mexican flags and setting streets ablaze create an unsympathetic image for Democrats? Don't they understand that? No, I guess they don't. And actually, I saw a poll that came out yesterday, or was shared yesterday, rather. I'm not sure when the poll was conducted, but it showed that legal immigrants have completely shifted to the Republicans now. Democrats have lost legal immigrants, which makes sense. Legal immigrants are some of the loudest voices against this insanity, against setting your cities on fire so you can demand that you bring in illegal immigrants and you have no border control and no process whatsoever, or destroy the city. It's basically like, we're going to destroy the city because we want to destroy the city. We're going to destroy everything because we want to destroy everything. If you won't let us do it this way, we're going to do it this way. And so legal immigrants are moving completely over to the Republican side. Congratulations, left. Yeah, you've learned nothing. Over the weekend, news of federal enforcement agencies conducting immigration raids sparked massive protests in Los Angeles. The city's mayor, Karen Bass, had denounced the enforcement campaign on X last Friday, accusing the Trump administration of sowing terror and defiantly stating, quote, "We will not stand for this." If you didn't see it on Monday, I did an episode about the left's ICE circus and riots and in Los Angeles. You can go and check that one out. The politicians in Los Angeles, I used to live there. I lived there for 15 years. They don't serve the people. They're completely beholden to this leftist woke ideology. It's not liberalism. It's not classical liberalism. It's authoritarian. It's for censorship. It's for suppression of dissent. They're completely given over to it. Lawlessness. This is the mayor of LA complaining about the president sending in National Guard troops to protect the federal buildings, which he should do when there are riots happening. And basically saying, it's not all the illegal immigrants breaking the law and all the crimes and all the murders and all the economic distress. It's not all of that that's a problem. It's Trump sending in National Guard people. Okay. So she says, "We will not stand for this." Also fanning the flames with California's governor, of course, sociopath Gavin Newsome, who claimed that the raids were, quote, tearing families apart. You know what else tears families apart? Murder by illegals. I mentioned this on the last episode. The left always likes to use anecdotes. They always like to try and manipulate your emotions and your empathy, like a lot of cults, like abusers do. They don't live by their own standards, though. Not a one of them knows the name of Laken Riley. Tearing families apart and called the immigration arrest chaotic, reckless, and cruel. By the way, when you break the law, your family does get torn apart. That's what happens. We don't typically, if you're arrested drunk driving, got a DWI, they don't typically go and get your kids and put them in the prison cell with you. That's not typically what happens. These are the consequences of your own actions. Tearing families apart and called the immigration arrest chaotic, reckless, and cruel. What any words, Gavin Newsome, for the flames in the streets? The mass vandalism we looked at on Monday, setting city streets on fire, throwing Molotov cocktails, shooting fireworks at horses. Is that chaotic, reckless, and cruel? These people invert the truth. They invert reality. It's for the non-Christians, you're not going to like what I'm about to say, but it's like Satanism. It's up is down, down is up. Substituting sweet for sour, dark for light, up for down, good for evil. That's what these people do. Progressive groups' denunciations of the raids were even harsher. I like how they call them progressive groups. As we know, these are regressive groups. The ACLU called the enforcement plan an oppressive and vile paramilitary operation, while a spokesperson for the National Day Labor Organizing Network, socialists, referred to the arrests as they're kidnappings. I never heard of a kidnapping where the kidnapper returns you to your home, like kicks you out of theirs and returns you to their home. Never heard of that. Never heard of a kidnapping where you take a criminal invader into your home and you return them to theirs. As word of the campaign spread, the protests quickly devolved into riots. Social media feeds were soon filled with scenes reminiscent of the violent unrest of summer 2020. Oh, we remember it. The mostly peaceful protest summer. That's when a lot of people woke up. I know a lot of people in the deprogrammed audience right now who woke up during that summer of love, the George Floyd riots, the BLM riots, assassinations, murders. It says reminiscent of the violent unrest this summer 2020, looting, crowds surrounding burning vehicles, rocks thrown at law enforcement cars, American flags set aflame. They're burning the American flag, but somehow they want to be here and live here. Sure. The 101 freeway was shut down. Such violence should have drawn swift and widespread condemnation from both the left and right. Yes, it should have. But the left is insane. They're thoroughly insane. Instead, prominent Democrats have largely remained silent on the mayhem, reserving their outrage for President Trump. You guessed it, President Trump. His decision to deploy the National Guard to restore order, a move that sparked yet another round of denunciations from the usual suspects. Even some of the president's critics who have called for an end to the violence seem motivated less by the belief that property destruction and assaults on police are wrong, and more by concerns that such unrest could bolster support for immigration enforcement or damage Democrats politically. Yes, it will. So at least some of them have two working brain cells to rub together and realize, like, hey, we're losing the legal immigrants. We're losing other people. There's normies who are waking up. Yeah, every time you guys do this violence in the streets, people wake up. You're not liberals. You show us all that. We liberals have already left you. We've already left. Governor Gavin Newsome warned Angelenos not to fall into the trap that extremists are hoping for. The people coming in to restore peace and order that you won't restore, they're the extremists, not the rioters in the streets, though, right? They're not extreme. The people setting fire to cars, causing all this destruction, they're not. Okay. The Cato Institute's Alex Noretza, an open borders advocate. There you go. Wants open borders. These people never want open borders on their homes, though. Isn't that funny? They believe in private property for themselves, but not for you, not for others, not for the country. These elitists in their gated communities. It won't touch me. Not in my backyard. NIMBYs, right? I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little fed up. I know on Monday I said I was going to be praying for grace and patience because I'm just fed up with these people, but I've had a few moments of it. I have. But overall, I'm still in this I'm so tired of these people. Open borders people. This open borders advocate lamented that, quote, support for nativism depends on chaos. That's okay. And argued that support for mass deportations would wither without rioting. Well, I have to say, this open borders advocate seems more intelligent than some of the others because he's saying, look, if we're rioting and looting and doing the destruction we always do, maybe that's going to turn people off. Yes, it will. Do you leftists? I know you don't. I know a lot of you hate Martin Luther King. You say as much. But have you ever read the instructions that he gave out to people who were actually protesting, like peacefully protesting? Do you ever read how he talked about not just the importance of peaceful demonstration and protest, which is our right as citizens, but he talked about decorum. He talked about the way that you dress at a protest, dressing nicely. He talked about assimilation, not destruction. He used inclusive language, we and us. You guys have nothing in common with him, which is why a lot of you openly revile him. Okay, let me continue. But who are the extremists in this situation? Surely it's the angry group of rioters setting cars ablaze and hurling rocks at passing police vehicles from highway overpasses. Yes, surely it's them. Appalling as the left's response to the riots has been, it's not surprising. The unrest only reinforces a connection many Americans have already made between progressive causes and the violence too often carried out in their name. I'll just say this as someone who was in that world, in that woke world for 20 years. I worked with a lot of those organizations. In my career, I managed comedians who almost all were leftists, also woke. We worked with a lot of these different, like, Answer Coalition. We worked with a lot of these groups. I was in that world. Leftists, like I was you. The violence that we see every single time, it's not a bug, it's a feature. That was a hard truth for me to wake up to, because when I started noticing it, for me, my waking up started in 2016, 2017. And like I said, it started because of all of this civil unrest, because of all of this violence. The more you do it, the more people like me wake up and see what they're really involved in and leave. That's the silver lining. And I know so many people who that's their story. So many people in the chat, that's their story. It was a hard truth to accept. It's not just a few bad apples. It's baked in. The organizations who are behind this ridiculous No Kings thing happening tomorrow, they support violence. They are violent anarchist groups. They are violent socialist groups, communist groups. A lot of them are getting money from the CCP. They're getting money from billionaires, which is hilarious, because this whole thing that you guys are doing tomorrow that you're so excited about, you're like, no billionaires, no kings. It's a bunch of billionaires funding and manipulating you guys like little puppets. They pull the string and you tap dance. Idiots. The chaos in LA follows the deadly and destructive riots that swept cities across the nation in 2020, as well as the more recent demonstrations sparked by Hamas, yes, October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. Since that date, pro-Palestinian activists have harassed Jewish students on college and university campuses, shut down streets and transit hubs, set the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania's house on fire. Again, this is not a bug. This is a feature. This is what you guys are. Even if you're one of the ones that you're like, but I'm not violent. I'm not one of the violent ones. You don't have to be. You've got the black bloc for that. But you guys are all pushing the same thing. You all have different tasks. You all serve a different function for this evil ideology. They set the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania's house on fire. They shot and killed 2 Israeli embassy employees outside the Jewish Museum in D.C. Murder. Again, that's what you guys do. They hit elderly Jews peacefully marching in support of Israel with Molotov cocktails in Colorado. Over and over and over. You want to know how, here's Trump. You want to know how a person like me on the left, my whole adult life, up until 2017, do you know why I enthusiastically voted for Trump and would do so again? Do you want to know why? Because you guys are the alternative. The future you have planned for us, that you want for us, is very bleak, destructive, chaos, open borders, high crime, economic depression, no private property, all of it. And most of you out there, the ones on social media, the little social media keyboard warriors, you're too stupid to even know any of this stuff. When you talk about the woke, there's all these different classes, like different groups. There's the academics who come up with the theory, who try and intellectualize all of it. They come up with the language that trickles its way down to the social media keyboard warriors, the idiots who are like, white privilege, capitalism's bad, systemic oppression, heteronormativity, all of that crap that gets trickled down to you. There's those. Then there's the activists, the organizations behind this No Kings thing that you idiots are participating in tomorrow. The organizations behind it, they know what they are. You apparently don't. You're the useful idiots, the useful tools throughout history. Any kind of revolution like this has required a large class of useful tools. That's what you are. Most of you don't even know the organizations behind this or where the money's coming from. You think this is all organic. It's organic. Democrats face a real political problem. It's not hard to see how this most recent episode of fiery but mostly peaceful protests could boost support for the president's immigration enforcement campaign. Yeah, it does. Fully on board. Especially given that many of those wreaking havoc in LA are waving the Mexican flag or burning the flag of the country in which they demand illegal immigrants be allowed to stay. Consider the contrast. On one side, an administration following through on the president's promise to strengthen immigration enforcement, in part to make cities safer. On the other, rioters waving foreign flags and setting streets afire. It's hard to imagine a more unsympathetic image for the president's critics. If the left wants to shed its reputation for siding with arsonists who block city streets, seize campus quads, and attack police, its leaders could start by condemning the lawlessness in Los Angeles and pledging to work with the president to restore order. Their refusal to do so lies at the heart of Donald Trump's political strength. You guys make him stronger. How did someone like me end up voting for him? You guys. And remains a vivid sign of a lesson still unlearned. I just thought that was a great opinion piece. John, hey, what's up, John? Thank you for the super chat for $5. John says, the same people rioting over families being torn apart of this are the same people that would turn a family in during the pandemic. Absolutely. These people are hypocrites. Absolute hypocrites. I'm going to get into the groups and some of the stuff they have planned for tomorrow. If you're not already following DataRepublican on X, you should be. She's doing some of the best journalism around these protests, who's behind it, where the money's coming from, some of the best research around it. But before I do that, I wanted to just share. I had something on my mind early this morning, and this is about in the description of the video, I was saying, what's the psychology behind these people that support this? Because I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of sort of, they're not normies, they're woke leftists, but they're normies in the sense that they're not Black Bloc, they're not Antifa, they're not part of DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, they're not part of any of these, openly socialist, fascist groups. I know Antifa says they're against fascism, right? No, they're not. But a lot of these people who are sort of like the more like, again, not normies, but within woke, the normie wokes. Okay. I know a lot of you have because I hear from you every day. I've heard from you on my posts. You have a lot of these people in your life, and they're the keyboard warriors, and they're the wine soccer moms, and they're, they just discovered woke a few years ago, and they're still in it, and they're still virtue signaling all this crap. They're all talking about they're so excited to go to the protest tomorrow. These people, they were on my mind this morning for many reasons. This isn't about any one person. It's about a lot of people. Sure, there's different individual people I had in mind when writing this, but there's a lot of them. Okay. Let me just read it. That's probably just easier. Okay. Here's what I had to say to them. Again, I don't have a lot of patience right now. A note to all the leftist fascists out there. Fascism doesn't mean enforcing the law. As if. Words actually mean things, despite the left's attempts to destroy all meaning the past 10 years. Woman, racism, fascism, harm, liberalism. These words do have real meanings, no matter how many times you misuse them and try and leave them an empty husk, whether through dishonesty or stupidity. Fascism is authoritarian, totalitarian, and forcibly suppresses opposition. It's the melding of government and corporate power to trample on the rights of individuals. It's often marked by political violence meant to stoke terror and compliance. You leftists, despite misusing the word so often, are intimately familiar with fascism, as it's what you've supported for the past 10 years, at minimum. Communism with fascist characteristics. The only thing missing was the nationalism. You're globalist fascists. That's what you are. No open borders fascists. That's you. Remember the COVID years? Your authoritarian bootlicking and begging for government lockdowns and mask and vax mandates. Your Stasi-like turning on your friends and neighbors, drunk on that authoritarian power. We sure do. We remember it. Remember the censorship and deplatforming and the suppression of opposition directed by the Biden administration and carried out by corporations? Remember how you cheerleaded censoring scientists and journalists? We sure do. Remember your repeated political violence, the multiple assassination attempts and incitement to assassination, the riots, the senseless murders, the looting, the terrorizing during your mostly peaceful Black Lives Matter, pro-Hamas, and anti-Trump circuses, your George Floyd riots. We remember it. We sure do. You're repeating it right now with your orchestrated ICE theater and your laughable No Kings marching orders, trying to talk about fascism while you embody it. Sit down. You want to be jackboot clowns. That's the thing, is these people are clowns. And here's the part I was really thinking about here at the end. Go home, clean your room, and kick the booze and drugs. Does that sting a little? Think I'm talking to you in particular? That's because so many of you are the same. I know so many addicts who are brainwashed by this leftist crap. Hey, anything you can obsess over other than cleaning up your own life and getting right with God. Am I right? Have another drink or toke and yell some more about fascism and Trump on social media. Anything to avoid starting with the man in the mirror, right? I should know. I used to be you. You won't change until you find your rock bottom, drop the arrogance, embrace humility, and call out to God, to the universe, or even to your conservative friends that you've shat on for help. Get your house in order before you deign to try and wreck the world just to match your insides. This is who you are. This is you. I don't care if you're I'm not one of the violent ones. This is you. This is your movement. This is your ideology. Your chaos agents. It's the unfortunate truth that I don't have enough hands. I don't have enough fingers to count all of the addicts I know who are in this leftist woke world, who are the keyboard warrior type, not to mention the ones being arrested, the Antifa types out in the street. It was saying the truth about these people. I'm not putting a name on it. Like I said, it's many different people. I feel is necessary because it's almost like a lot of the people in their comments just validate their crap, just validate their self-destruction. So it's like all these crazy, Trump's a fascist, I'm orange man bad, want to go out in the streets and protest, and intersperse with posts about what kinds of medications they're on, how they can't sleep, anti-anxiety meds, depression meds, all the SSRIs they're taking, or interspersed with posts about it's 2:00 in the afternoon and they're getting drunk again, just talking about it openly, and all during the week. Hey, it's Tuesday, I'm drinking some vodka. Hey, it's Thursday, I'm drinking some vodka, just constantly. Or they're getting stoned constantly. I know a lot of these people in real life. Some of them don't have jobs. Some of them live off the taxpayers that they criticize. I heard from many people in the comments who are like, hey, you're describing my brother, my brother-in-law, my sister, my friend. You're describing someone I know. Yes, because they're so similar. And that part at the end, I was thinking about, it's like, that's exactly what they're doing. Their inside is so messed up that they're like, let me focus on the outside. Let me deign to go out in the streets and tell you what I think, tell the people what should be done to fix things up. Meanwhile, one of the ones I know, complete hoarder. I'm talking about trash hoarder, roaches kind of hoarder. This is what Jordan Peterson was talking about when he said, clean your room. Clean your room. Start small. Start with the things that you have actual control over. One of these guys comes onto my Facebook all the time and does the I'll see that he will have been up at like 2 or 3 a.m. drunk, stoned, out of his mind. I know this person, doing passive aggressive laugh reacts on like 30 of my posts in a row. What a loser. And there's many of them. It's not just one. It's many of them. You need help. You know this is true. You know this is why it hurts and stings. You know this is why you want to snarl, because your life is in shambles. And again, I speak from experience. Nothing's going to help you until you want that help. God only molds willing clay. As long as you have this like shield, this armor that you wear of arrogance and super intelligent, you're so much more moral and intelligent than everyone else. It's fake, by the way. It's a faux moral high horse that you're on. And we can all see it. But, you know, as long as you've got that suit of armor on, I'm so smart, I'm so moral. Meanwhile, your relationships are falling apart. You're a drug addict. You're a drunk. You don't own anything. You don't have a job. Some of you. It's true. You don't create anything. You don't cultivate anything. This whole leftist cult that you're in, it functions like a religion, but it's an empty religion. It doesn't help you solve any of those problems in your real life. And for a lot of you, it's just another addiction. It goes hand in hand with your alcoholism and your drug abuse. It's just something else to be obsessed and addicted with instead of looking at yourself. Taking control over the one thing that you have a great amount of influence on. Too scary, right? Legalize adulthood. Hey, man, thanks for the very generous super chat. $50 says the left has to change the meaning of everyday words, because if they spoke plainly and clearly about what they want to do, everyone would be against it. 100%. 100%. It's George Orwell's 1984, which none of them have read. The Ministry of Truth. You know, what does that do? Propaganda. Ministry of Love. What do? War. They do the same thing. They call racism anti-racism. They call fascism anti-fascism. They call men women. They call mutilating and sterilizing children gender affirming. Orwellian. Legalized adulthood continues. They must use linguistic camouflage to make their ideas appear palatable. Happy Friday. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. Thank you. I appreciate you supporting the channel. Super Based, member for 11 months. Super Based, thanks for being here. Says, as a Californian, get me out of here. Look, I feel for you guys who are still there. Leaving California was one of the best decisions ever made. I know the whole state's not like that, but a lot of it is. And the cities are just overrun with it. Okay. Let's talk about this No Kings thing that's happening tomorrow. Organized. by billionaires and our tax dollars. But it's the resistance, guys. It's the resistance. These are the punks and the radicals. Bullshit. Bullshit. A lot of those, the personality type I was talking about, lost to darkness, lost to addiction, all this stuff, who like the keyboard warriors online, they like to think of themselves, you know, you guys know this, but they like to think of themselves as like brave and like rebels while they say everything that the corporations want them to say, that the elites want them to say. They're funded by freaking billionaires, and they're like, we're fighting the power. No, you're not. You're raging for the machine. You're raging for the machine. Try putting on a MAGA hat with your friend and hanging out in Austin all day like Mikey and I did. And you guys wanted to come into my comments and I don't know, try and harsh my joy, which you didn't, but you try doing that for a day. See how punk you are. Losers. I'm sorry. You know, I told you guys, I'm so fed up with these people. Whew. I will try and get back to my a more empathetic place in a future stream. But today, not happening. Here we go. In America, we don't do kings. Sure got these websites up fast, didn't they? They've defied our courts, deported Americans, disappeared people. Right. Liars. Disappeared people off the streets, attacked our civil rights. Who's attacked what civil rights? And they've slashed our services. Your services? You mean your funds, your funding of anarchy and destruction and violence? The corruption's gone too far. No thrones, no crowns, no kings. Okay. It's all kind of cringe. Okay, so let's watch their little video about what they're about.
Every day across this country, something powerful is happening. People are rising for each other, for democracy, and for our collective freedom. We have chosen not to live in fear or let division destroy this country. We believe in something bigger than ourselves and the promise of freedom and justice for all. But now our rights and our freedoms are under.
Do you notice what they say? Like, what they're like, we're not going to let division destroy this country, while all you do is divide. You divide by race, you divide by sex, you divide by sexuality. Everything you do is about division. Like I said earlier, you don't use the inclusive language of MLK, you use exclusive language. That's all you do. You're literally in the streets, setting the streets and cities on fire and rioting, and you're like, we don't want to destroy. Yes, you do.
Attack. We can point fingers, or we can take action. This spring, millions of us united for one of the largest peaceful protests in the history of the United States.
Hey,
together.
Hey, mostly peaceful, right, guy? Am I right?
We told Trump and his billionaire administration to keep their greedy hands off our health care, our veterans benefits, our public lands, our rights. Courage is contagious. And now we're taking to the streets again on Saturday, June 14th for No King's Day.
No King's Day!
Trump wastes tens of millions of taxpayer dollars on a military parade.
I thought they loved this country. Here's the other thing. They hate America. They hate America. They hate anything that unites us. They hate the flag. They hate anything positive that we, should be able to easily support. Like this is a parade. It's like we all come together and we're thankful for our troops. We're thankful for the men and women who put their lives on the line. That's all it is. And they're like, oh no, not a parade thanking the military.
For his birthday, acting like a wannabe king. People in every state have organized over 1,800 events in their communities to uphold democracy and protect our rights. People standing side by side for the future we all deserve. We don't do kings in the United States. We believe power belongs with the people. Join us on Saturday.
No, you don't. You guys are anti-populist. A lot of the organizations who are behind this No King's Day are very explicitly like anti-populism. You're anti the people.
June 14th. Go to nokings.org to find the protest near you.
Okay, so let's look at this. Look at all these different events. Okay, you can see it's congregated around the big leftist cities, of course. Red Dawn. I keep asking these people what rights they're losing and they can't give a straight answer. No, they can't. And by the way, next time ask them, just so we're on the same page, let's define terms. What is a right? Ask them that. Ask them that. They can't. They can't define. These are adults who can't even define what a right is. Ask them. They can't define fascism. They can't define half the words they use. So here's all their planned riots, and you can find one near you. They've been organizing these calls. On June 14th, Flag Day, President Trump wants tanks in the streets and a made-for-TV display of dominance for his birthday. It's a celebration of America and the military members. It's Flag Day, for goodness sakes. We know you guys like to burn the flag, but, you know, it is flag. Maybe on this one day we could have a celebration of the military members. A spectacle. It's a spectacle. What, rioting and setting cars on fire is not. That's not a spectacle. That's not theater at all. I'd rather have the positive theater. You know, I'd rather have something that's supposed to unite all of us. I'd rather have that. But you guys hate July 4th. You hate anything that's supposed to unite us. You hate Thanksgiving. It rises up everywhere. No Kings is a nationwide day of defiance, from city blocks to small towns, from courthouse steps to community parks. We're taking action. You notice how they try and make this seem grassroots? It's not. We're taking action to reject authoritarianism. You are authoritarians, honey. We're going to show the world what democracy really looks like. Well, I think we did that with the last election. We showed the world what democracy really looks like, and you guys are pissy about it. We showed the world in November. You don't like democracy very much, do you? We're not gathering to feed his ego. They're gathering to feed theirs. We're building a movement that leaves him behind. The flag doesn't belong to President Trump. It belongs to us. We're not watching history happen. We're making it. On June 14th, we're showing up everywhere he isn't to say no thrones, no crowns, no kings. Okay. So they've got all these different orgs involved. And then these are just the ones that they announce. Okay. The official partners. The biggest one being this 51 events, which has organized a lot of these anti-Trump things. Here we go. There's 51. Here's some of the others you can see. And I'm going to pull up the DataRepublican stuff because it's really interesting to see where the funding is coming from. And I'm telling you right now, it's coming from billionaires, and it's coming from you. It's coming from me. It's coming from taxpayers. So they've got the ACLU on here. They've got 350 Action, Bernie on here. Ben the Ark, Jewish Action, Black Voters Matter with the little commie fist, Center for Common Ground. I'm not reading all these. Color of Change. That's an organization I used to work with when I was in the woke world. These are Marxists. These are Marxists and socialists. College Democrats of America, Common Defense. That's one that's going to come up in the DataRepublicans reporting. That's getting money from taxpayers and nonprofits and other places that you may donate to that you wouldn't even think would be funding stuff like this. Like the World Wildlife Fund gives money to crap like this. Climate Defenders is on here, Common Cause. It's a whole huge, list. So these are just the ones they tell you about. Human Rights Campaign, the HRC, that's an org I used to work with. Gain Power. It goes on and on. Move On's on here, of course. I worked with them. Next Gen American. People for the American Way. People Power United. Pride at Work. Planned Parenthood's on here, of course. People's Action. Reproductive Freedom for All. Reproductive Freedom for California. It's all the usual suspects. It's every one of the different, it's the feminist woke groups like Planned Parenthood. It's the gay, LGBT, the queer woke groups like HRC. It's the pro-Palestinian, the pro-Hamas groups. It's all of it. It's always all the same people all together. Look, I'm just gonna scroll through so you can see. These are all the ones listed. Okay. And now we're going to leave this site and we're going to start looking at some of the DataRepublican stuff. Here we go. Let me take this down for 1 second. Lily the Fox Valley. Yeah, that looks grassroots, right? Right? Nothing they do is organic. One of the funniest, most recent examples I found. Okay, so there's two things that are good examples recently. One is the taco thing that I've mentioned, which is hilarious. So you know how on the real, like among the actual population of people who are not in this brainwash cult, you know how things like rise, some things more often, sometimes they're psyops, sometimes things are astroturf, but a lot of times there are things that break through that are just organic, like Let's Go Brandon. That's a great example. Let's Go Brandon took off. It was hilarious. People put it on shirts and everything. It became very recognizable, meaning F Joe Biden. Its origins were hilarious. Where it came from was hilarious because it was about this reporter trying to gaslight and lie to the people about what was being said. So it was like really kind of a funny, organic catchphrase that took off. Then you look at the left. They have this new thing they're trying to do. It's completely funded and created by activists and politicians. It's the politicians who put it out there. It's taco, and apparently it means Trump always chickens out, and even the messaging, like the meme, the imagery and stuff is stupid. It's like Trump in a chicken suit or Trump with taco. Who cares? It's so stupid. It doesn't mean anything. It came from suits. Do you know what I mean? It's not organic. And you can see the same thing with their protests. It's all controlled. And your friend on social media who's going to it and posting about it, they feel like they're part of something that's grassroots. They're not. I mean, we know this, but they're not. They're little puppets. They're marionettes. Another funny, interesting example of this is some of the left has been taking stock of, I mean, finally, I guess, of the fact that old media is dying and trust in our institutions is dying, and rightly so, because they've abused that trust and they've lied to us. They've pushed propaganda. They've censored the truth. They've censored journalism. And new media has been rising, right? And I've done episodes about the woke right. I've done episodes about being just as circumspect with the new media as we are with the old, because I do see some people on the right just falling into this trap of like, I'm just going to trust everything this influencer says, which is ridiculous. And a lot of these influencers are getting paid now too by different organizations and groups. So be just as circumspect. But some of the people on the left have taken stock after the last election, after they saw democracy happen and they hated it. They've been taking stock and they're like, oh, the new media has got a hold on young men. And how are we going to appeal to young men? And this is serious. This is an idea they've come up with, is they want to create some podcasters, like put a lot of money behind them, like basically find actors like they did with their Men for Kamala ad. And all those guys were paid actors. None of them were real men. That was so funny. They want to do that, and they want to create these like men's podcasters, someone like a Joe Rogan or someone, or the health and fitness guys, people that like in the manosphere do the health and fitness stuff. They want to find some people, put some money into them, and help them become popular. And then in a few years, when it's time for the next election, they want these guys that they've astroturfed and built up to come out and support the Democrats. This is their plan to get men back. Like, hey, we need to sponsor some podcasters who are talking about seed oils and working out and stuff. Let's create some. John Thomas, they had Joe Rogan until they ran him off. Yeah, exactly. Joe Rogan's another one who woke up. Many such cases. Many of us who woke up and left. So funny. That woman they found to promote the DNC with young men is insane, says Kevin. Yeah, they never learn. Hey, Southeastern KG, what's up? No, they don't. It's so stupid. They're gonna manufacture some fake podcaster. Let's find somebody who we can get to. You know what it reminds me of when I worked in LA in entertainment, when you would pitch reality shows, and several of the projects that I pitched, they were actual reality shows. They were like documentary style shows with, I thought, great concept. And the comedians I was working with thought were great concepts. And we would go in and meet with production companies and they would say, thanks for the work you've done on this pitch. But what we're looking for instead is, and then they would totally manufacture something. Like one of my comedy clients, they were like, they told her, can you become a dog baker? Because Animal Planet's looking for a show. She was a little person. They're like, it's looking for a show with little people. Animal Planet's looking for one. So if you could open like a dog bakery, then we could pitch that as a show. Like she didn't even like dogs. And they're like, but she wanted to be on TV so bad. She was like, I can do that. Or they said, God, what was it? One of the sci-fi channels or something had a little people ghost hunter show. And they were like, maybe you could become a ghost hunter. It's just, my point is it's all fake. And that's what the left is doing now. They're like, maybe you can become a seed oil podcaster and talk about health and fitness. But your real goal is for us to then get you to push people toward the Democrats 4 years from now. It's so stupid. Sherlock Homeboy did photography for Storage Wars once. It was faker than WWE. So many of them are. So many of them are completely not just scripted, not just, which they are. They're fake. They're scripted. But they're also, the whole concept and the people and the relationships are faked. Super Base gifted 20 deprogram memberships. Thank you, Super Base. Okay, we're getting into this now. Oh wait, let me just thank two more people, then we're going. John Thomas for $10. Thank you, John Thomas. Says the Loons are having one of their righteous gatherings in Chattanooga. The Chattanooga City Council was crying because state law now forbids DEI, as it should. So they don't know what to do about their DEI committee. Well, my friend Frank McCormick on X, he was like, all these leftist elites keep crying about like, if we get rid of illegal immigration and we enforce immigration law and a process, to immigrate here, who's going to pick our strawberries? And he was like, maybe all the former DEI officials could do it who got fired. It was funny. Okay. Alex Lindstrom from $4.99. Thank you, Alex. Says they don't understand that Trump himself wants to preserve certain entitlements and benefits. He's on their side, re the fear-mongering commercial. That's true. John Thomas for $10. Thank you. Says June 14th is the 250th anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Army. The parade was planned before Trump. Yeah. He probably expanded it, but nothing to do with his birthday. Although, what a great thing to do on your birthday. Okay. Let's get into some of this now. So this is DataRepublican. Again, great follow on X. Great investigative journalist. Also really great with research and putting data in easily accessible format for people. So just released, follow the money behind the No Kings rally. DataRepublican has launched an interactive open source map showing how your tax dollars flow to organizations involved in the No Kings rally. I tracked funding from federal sources to final recipients, prioritizing direct paths, not via DAFs, whenever possible. Important, most paths still went through donor-advised funds, the black box of the nonprofit world. Unfortunately, it's a common and opaque funding structure that deserves scrutiny. So this is really important because she's tracking the ones where you can actually see the direct path, but most of it is still going through these shadowy black box donor advised funds. So explore it for yourself. Click on federal grant flow for any No Kings organization to open any visual flow chart tracing dollars from origin to destination. Also, you can save any graph as an SVG and take it wherever you need. I'll keep updating the database as more of the employment identification numbers come in. Got a group to investigate. Send my email address. Send it to my email with an EIN. Let's shine a light on influence laundering. So here, you can see just an example of what's in the database, and I've got the database pulled up so we can look at it. But you can look here on the left, and this is kind of hard to see, but you can see here these two organizations. On the left, the National Endowment for Democracy and the National Democratic Institute for, and that I'm not sure that last word is cut off, but you can see here how much taxpayer money goes into these, how much taxpayer and like grant money goes into these nonprofits, right? Goes into these funds. So the one on top, it's 610 million. It's 167 million taxpayer funds going into the National Endowment for Democracy. It's 382 million. It's over 382 million. It's insane. And then you can look where these are one of the ones she said where you can follow it directly and trace it. You can see what they're putting money into here. The American Center for International, last word is cut off. They're funneling the money through that organization, which is then putting it in over here on the right to this group, Chinese Progressive Association, which is putting it into BVM Capacity Building Institute. So you can see how it's making its way to the No Kings protests. Here's an interesting one on the second column here. You can see other groups that are putting money in. Couple interesting ones that were surprising. World Wildlife Fund. Hey, if you donate money to the World Wildlife Fund, which also gets 74 million in taxpayer funds, and then they still ask for your donations, but they get 74 million of our tax dollars, and then you give them money. They get 280 million in contributions. They're giving money to this leftist crap. So's the Nature Conservancy. It's crazy. Let's go into here. This is just showing you how you can click on, well, let's just go into the database and then you can see it instead of looking at her example. John, Biden administration was stuffing money into lots of different shady areas in hopes of not being found. Oh, absolutely. And there are more people. If we have time, I'll show you. Lids of TikTok was highlighting that there are more people that were outed and being charged for fraud who were receiving USAID funds. That just came out, or I just saw it today. Okay, so let's make this larger. This is the DataRepublican database. And you can see here on the left, there's lots of different sections. You can just go straight to the No Kings section and you can look through each of these organizations. These are the nonprofits linked to the June 14th, 2025 No Kings rally. By the way, these people, a lot of the people, the leftists who support this crap have the gall to complain about tax exemption for churches and religions. And meanwhile, they're pouring all this money into nonprofits to go to this destruction of our towns, of our cities. So you can look here. It says this page lists every nonprofit for which we currently have a reconstructed flow of federal grant monies to entities involved in the No Kings demonstration of June 14th. That's tomorrow, 2025. Click See Federal Grant Flow to view the full interactive diagram for any organization. This list is not exhaustive. Additional nonprofits will appear as more filings are processed. So you can click on any one of these. And I was looking through it. ACLU Foundation of Texas. Look at this one. Total receipts, over $3 million. We're going to look at their federal grant flow. And you can see how it flows into the No Kings thing. Oh, it looks like DataRepublican's getting a lot of traffic. Anyway, okay. ACLU Foundation of Texas. So you've got here on the left, the National Democratic Institute for, again, that last word is cut off, getting 167 million in federal funds. And then that's flowing into this International Center, not for profit. You've got, this one's hard to show on the screen. Down here at the bottom, the Open Society Institute, Schwab Charitable Fund, the World Wildlife Fund, again, National Endowment for Democracy. Hold on. This is just a little hard. Okay, there we go. The Board of Trustees of the Leland San Antonio Area Foundation. These are all organizations that you can see where they're putting money, how much taxpayer funds they get, and where they're putting money into other organizations that are then funneling it into organizations that are backing this No King's Day thing. So all of these different, on the left, these are the sources of the taxpayer funds. And you can, and here on the right, there's the ACLU Foundation of Texas, which is one of the organizations that it's helping to fund the No King's Day rallies tomorrow. So even though they're getting zero taxpayer funds, they're receiving over $4 million of taxpayer money from all of these other sources that get taxpayer money. Is that insane? Funding the No King's Day rallies. So that's just one example. That one interesting to me because I'm here in Texas. They've got ACLU of Utah. You can go through and look at all these. There's a lot of the ACLU groups. We're just in the A's. We're just in the A's. So I really encourage you to go through here and take a look at this if you have time. If you see people promoting one of these groups online, Women's March, here's one. I've actually got, someone sent me this thing from the Women's March. They're one of the organizations involved. Of course they are. Pink Pussy Hat, losers. Here's one for Austin, the Women's March. Austin, kick out the clowns. End the greatest shit show on earth. When you elect clowns, they don't become leaders. The country becomes a circus. On June 4th, Donald Trump will honor himself with a 4-mile military parade in our nation's capital. Honoring himself? This is for our country, you fools. Trump's tacky parade. It's the military. Was inspired by the dictators he idolizes and will cost taxpayers nearly $100 million. Oh, you'd much rather have that money going into setting fires and destroying property and killing people, wouldn't you? So they're participating in this thing tomorrow, and they have a little thing like, attend this event in Austin. They're going to be a part of it. And so if you go back to the DataRepublican page and you look them up, you can see how they are being funded by our tax dollars. Here, I'm going back to this, to the tune of over $4 million a year. If you want to see the whole flow chart and you can see how it makes its way to them, you can do that. There's a lot of people on this site right now, so just give it a second when you go here. But here you go. Here's the organizations that we fund with our tax dollars on the left. Here's the chart, makes its way all the way over to the Women's March. We are funding the destruction of our own cities. I think they need to revoke the tax exempt status of some of these organizations. If they're giving money that's being funneled through other organizations to make its way to fund rioting, destruction of property, murder, violence, terrorism, we need to revoke their federal grants. I don't want to be paying for this. Dion, the cities should sue these organizations for damages. Yeah. Hey, my husband's here. Mr. Anthony Garcia Music. Let me pause this rant fest just to say, yesterday was our 4-year wedding anniversary, and my husband has a new song out. I'll plug it at the end of this show, but it's called it's on his new piano album that I've been talking about, and it's called The Story of Us, and it's a beautiful song, and he put the song out yesterday, or he talked about it yesterday, and anyway, I love this band very much. Thanks for being in the chat. Thank you. Happy anniversary. Thank you very much. God is very good. God is a very generous God. ADL 1992 for $1.99. Remind me where I can find this info. Okay, it's on the DataRepublican site. So here, I'll put this back up on the screen. Oh, I think I actually closed the tab, but oh wait, here we go. It's DataRepublican.com. That's where you can find all of it. And if you're a geek and you love combing through data, there's a lot of it there for you to go through. And as she mentioned, her DMs, her emails are open. If you have organizations that you are looking into and you want to send her information or you want to help her out, you can do so. John Thomas for $5. Thank you, John. Says, oh yeah, I haven't been able to confirm this yet, but supposedly Publix grocery store, Florida-based, has removed Ben & Jerry's from stores. Oh, well, that would be interesting. It serves them right if that actually happens. ADL 1992, can you repost the link to this chat? It's DataRepublican.com. And Andrew Knapp for $2. Thank you. Says they really do hate America. They do. Don't listen to their words, which some of the time they're very open and honest about hating America. They'll just tell you right out. But when they're trying to put on their their political mask, their politician mask, and they talk about loving this country and loving democracy and everything, like, no, you don't. Judge them by their fruits. We can see what you are. Okay, I've got a couple of other things to show you. So it's not just the taxpayers. It's not just us. We're not the only ones funding this destruction, these riots in the streets. There are also a lot of billionaires involved. And this is George Soros. That's a name you're going to recognize. So on the screen, I have a post from DataRepublican. Let's see if you can see this. There we go. And it says this is one of the core groups behind the No Kings protests, along with 5051 and Indivisible. And if we open this up here, let's see. From DataRepublican's Open Society Foundation's grant database, here are the George Soros donations to Common Defense Civic Engagement, aka Common Defense. So this is just one of the groups. We saw this one again when I was on the chart and I said Common Defense, when they list all of their sponsors on the No Kings Day website. This is one of them. And here it's $1.6 million that George Soros has given. You can go through the database and you can look at all these grants here on the left. Common Defense Civic Engagement. And this is for the years, like it looks like 2019 through 2023, and you can see how much money each year. These are grants for the Open Society, which is funding Common Defense. Common Defense being one of the sponsors of the No Kings Day riots. Here's another one. You guys, thanks for bearing with me. As I said, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I'm trying to pick it up, but the spreadsheet shared by Azra Nomani. Azra Nomani is another great follow on X journalist, used to be at the Wall Street Journal and does a lot of great research. So this spreadsheet shared by Azra Nomani confirms that many of the same people involved in the Tesla takedown protests are also active in other coordinated protests across the country. It looks like they're staging a nationwide protest every month now. Every month they're doing something. The left is getting increasingly organized and appears to be building a color revolution right here at home. They've been organized for a while, actually. These groups, we know this. As I mentioned, this isn't something new. This has been happening. I mean, they've been doing this. We saw this in 2016. We saw that before. I used to participate in some of this crap. So some of the same groups involved in the Tesla protests. This is something that DataRepublican just shared, and there are going to be updates on this. So again, you should be following her. She says, just in, with major thanks to the amazing Indiana University librarian team, we have now scanned never before digitized historical 990 PF tax returns of George Soros's Open Society Foundations. This is a first. These documents have never been available on the internet until now. Uploading and AI processing begins today. Look for a release on my website. So this is coming. This was just shared this morning. So these documents are all being scanned right now, and she's going to be doing a report on what's in them. But these are tax returns on the Open Society Foundation. So that's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. And then here, okay. It's important, this is another DataRepublican post. It's important to understand that the June 8th and 9th protests were financed by the PSL, the People's Front, and Neville Singham, entities aligned with anti-Western and communist Chinese interests. These groups are entirely separate from those funding the No Kings protests, which are backed by globalist Western organizations and billionaires. But I just want to show you this article. This is from the New York Post. Lefty groups behind grassroots anti-Trump protests, grassroots in quotes, of course, propped up by billionaires and dark money network. Dozens of lefty groups behind the country's supposedly grassroots May Day protests, remember these are the ones that happened in May, have been largely bankrolled by two billionaires and a dark money network of progressive nonprofits, many of whom are funded by taxpayers. More than $500 million from Swiss billionaire Hans-Jörg Weiss's organizations and hedge fund tycoon George Soros's Open Society Foundations and the dark money Arabella network flowed to the progressive groups between the fiscal years of 2016 and 2023, according to an analysis shared with the Post. More than $500 million. The funding wasn't intended for the May Day protests per se, but it has been propping up many of the self-styled grassroots progressive activist groups over time. Well, yeah, they're not like putting it in there and earmarking it for a protest that hasn't been planned yet. It's just put in there and it's for protests in the future. It's like, go and organize this crap. Quote, the hypocrisy of the May Day protests is glaring, said Caitlin Sutherland, executive director of Americans for Public Trust, to the Post. These organizations project the illusion of being driven by everyday Americans. Yes, they do. But in reality, they're being bankrolled by some of the biggest dark money mega donors in politics. That's, if I could just summarize today's episode in one sentence, that's it. These people, these social media keyboard warriors that, you know, they're all excited about, they went to the May Day protest, they're going to the King's Day everything that's set up and organized for them, and they get their marching orders and they're told to do, and yet somehow they maintain this self-delusion that like they're part of something that's organic. They're not. Starting Thursday on May Day, organizers put together more than 1,000 protests across the country to demonstrate against President Trump, activity that spilled into the weekend. Although the day is not generally a significant phenomenon in the U.S., in some countries it's a holiday to mark International Workers' Day and spring festivities. Oftentimes, labor movements overseas use it to protest for certain causes. The 50-51 movement, or 50 protests, 50 states, one effort, is an anti-Trump organization that formed in January. Okay, now they're the ones, 50-51, I mentioned them before, they're one of the biggest sponsors of the No Kings riots tomorrow. So they were also one of the biggest sponsors of the May Day ones. They're widely credited for trying to move that international energy into the U.S. by orchestrating the widespread stateside protests last week. U.S. organizers framed the demonstrations as a fight against, quote, Trump and his billionaire profiteers. I always talk about billionaires. They are funded by billionaires. Despite records showing that prominent plutocrats were funding many of the participating activist groups. Many of the protests were also directed at tech baron Elon Musk, who is poised to dramatically reduce his cost-cutting role in the Trump administration by the month's end. This article came out in May. Remember, it was about the May Day protest. Quote, Trump and his billionaire profiteers are trying to create a race to the bottom on wages, on benefits, on dignity itself, the 50-51 movement said on its website ahead of the demonstrations. Quote, we are demanding a country that puts our families over their fortunes, public schools over private profits, healthcare over hedge funds, prosperity over free market politics. You're not putting families over fortunes, actually. Any of the leftists, I'm trying to put myself in the mind of the people I know who are like they're not normies, but they're the normie wokes, the keyboard warrior types. They would probably just shake their head at all, like, yeah, families over fortunes. You're not for families. Everything the movement that you're involved in does is about destroying families. Some of the organizations that are part of all these protests, these rallies, these riots that you go to, that put out all the messaging that you spit out and repeat, some of them are openly anti-family. BLM was. Queer liberation. If you go back and read queer theory, which is what's been guiding a lot of the indoctrination of children in K through 12 in the past few years. If you go and read queer theory, it tells you explicitly it's about destroying all traditional bonds. It's about destroying the nuclear family. What's the goal? Someone asked me on Facebook, like, why are billionaires funding this destruction and chaos? Somebody on Facebook asked me, do they want to create violence, like with two different sides? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They would love nothing more than for MAGA people to come out and fight. And because that usually doesn't happen, I think we might see some people, there's already been chatter in some of these Antifa groups and stuff about how they're going to wear red MAGA hats. So we could see some false flag stuff tomorrow. They would love nothing more than destruction. Why? Because they keep us fighting. They keep us divided. And if they can keep chaos stoked, well, then they have a need for all of their authoritarian plans that they've openly told us they want to do, that they test ran during the COVID years with COVID policy, lockdowns, telling you can't go to work, destruction of private property. They don't trust us. They call us, the useless eaters. We're like farm animals to them. Go and read the Great Reset book that they put out about COVID-19. Klaus Schwab. Go read it. The World Economic Forum. They put all this stuff out there. We can't be trusted. We farm animals, we useless eaters. We can't be trusted with liberty. We can't be trusted with private property. They've told us by the year 2030, their goal, these elite globalists, these organizations, these billionaires, their goal is that we will have nothing, and they say we will be happy. They put out propaganda about it. It's the year 2030. You'll own nothing and be happy. I was looking at one of the things they put out last week. I think I shared it, where they're like talking about this 3-stage plan for vehicle ownership. And it was like stage 1, single person ownership. It's like one person owns one car. Then stage 2, they want to get us to where multiple people own one car. Then stage 3, it said self-ownership. This is where the car owns the car. We don't own anything. The car owns the car. What does that mean? They own it. The government, the corporations. This is what they want. And all of you leftists participating in this, like, you are their puppets. You're basically demanding your own slavery. All of this is geared towards some of these organizations who are behind these protests tomorrow explicitly say on their website they are for the destruction of the United States of America. They want to destroy capitalism. They want to destroy the United States. They say this. They want a reason, any reason, to restrict individual rights and liberty, to do away with private property, to make us slaves, chattel. That's the goal for your kids, your grandkids. And it's so funny the way that these guys, these puppets, like, again, that's why I wrote that post this morning. Is I couldn't stop thinking about some of these people I know who are reasonably intelligent people, but who are so completely brainwashed by this crap and manipulated by this crap. They're like it's the Plato's cave, they're looking at shadows on the wall. They're not even playing the right game. They don't even know what game is being played. They're pawns in it. Ken Washia, what's tragic, are the people who are good who buy into this mess. Absolutely. Who are pawns for it. I've got a couple of other things pulled up here that we can look at. Let me just finish with this article that's talking about some of the billionaires funding all this crap. So this quote about what they demand, that's where we stopped. Okay, so about 36 of the participating groups have raked in about $293.6 million from Wise's groups, 47 million from the Arabella Network, and 194.2 million from Soros's Open Society Foundations, according to an assessment reviewed and checked by the Post. This is where all their money's coming from for all this chaos and destruction we see. All these billionaires funding this leftist circus, this nonsense in the streets. You guys are puppets for billionaires. Some of the most prominent left-wing activist groups in the anti-Trump demonstrations last week were the Sunrise Movement, Indivisible, and Planned Parenthood. Tax filings and other records show that the Sunrise Movement took in about $2,070,000 from funders in the so-called Arabella Network, and Indivisible got $107,000 from the Arabella Network, $6.5 million from Wise Groups, and $7.6 million from Soros's Open Society Foundations. While Planned Parenthood Federation of America accrued $1.6 million from the Arabella Network and almost $6 million from Wise's groups and $19.7 million from Soros's group. The Open Society Foundations did not fund or coordinate the May Day protests, a representative for the Open Society Foundations told the Post. Well, you did fund it. Quote, we support a wide range of organizations. Well, we've just seen through DataRepublican's research and charts how this is how sociopaths and psychopaths lie. They're like, we didn't fund it because why? Because they gave it to this group, who gave it to this group, who gave it to the groups organizing these riots. This is just like during the COVID years. Remember how Obama had banned our tax dollars going to gain of function research on coronaviruses. And that was the right thing to do, in my opinion. And he made a big deal about banning it, right? So no more NIH money will go to fund this kind of dangerous research, like research on coronaviruses to make them more deadly to humans and more contagious to humans. We're not going to fund that with our tax money. Okay. So Obama did that, right? Then what happened? Well, the NIH just started sending their money to who? Eco Health Alliance in New York. Eco Health Alliance started sending that money, our tax dollars. Where were they sending it? The Wuhan lab in China that was doing gain of function research on coronaviruses. And then lo and behold, just so happened magically, coincidentally, a dangerous bioengineered strain of coronavirus just appeared. It was just a coincidence. It was in that same place where the research was happening. It was just, it just jumped several species at a wet market, right? It's not that it escaped from the lab. That couldn't be it, right? It's the same thing with this money. These liars, these sociopaths. So they want to say technically, oh, we Americans, we weren't funding the Wuhan, the research at the Wuhan lab. Why? Oh, because we were funding Eco Health Alliance in New York, which was funding the Wuhan. So we were. You liars. That's the Open Society Foundation. Oh, we're not funding these protests. No, you're funding the organizations that are funding the protests. So he says, Arabella Advisors has no connection to the May Day protests. Yeah, you do. We are a nonpartisan professional services firm that provides operational administrative support to philanthropists and nonprofit organizations. The Arabella Network data includes IRS Form 990 information for the 1630 Fund, North Fund, New Venture Fund, and Hopewell Fund, all nonprofit groups that the Washington, D.C. based Arabella Advisor services with operational administrative support. WISE's groups include activities from the eponymous WISE Foundation, his charitable group, and the Berger Action Fund, his advocacy arm. The WISE Foundation is not donated to any of the organizations in question. Because of his Swiss citizenship, Weiss, 89, is precluded from donating to U.S. political candidates. So he's not an American citizen, but he has emerged as a top backer of lefty causes in America nonetheless by pumping cash into these dark money groups. Dark money in these cases refers to political spending that is not subject to financial disclosure requirements, which helps to shield the donor identities. Weiss made his fortune from the medieval device maker company Synthes, which he sold more than a decade ago to Johnson & Johnson. Oh, I said medieval. Sorry. Freudian. Medical device maker company. Thank you. Slip of the tongue. Look at all these signs. Black Lives Matter, stop hate, stop violence. Look at all their printed. Stop deportations. But it's totally organic, you guys. Not coordinated and organized at all. One of the largest groups to partake in protests that benefited from Weiss and families over Billionaires, the trade name for the massive Liberty Dark Money 1630 Fund, which received more than $278 million from his organization's record show. So isn't that funny? You've got this billionaire, the Swiss billionaire, and he's putting money into a group. And what does he call it? It's Orwellian, isn't it? He calls it Families Over Billionaires. He's a billionaire, and his group is called Families Over Billionaires. It's so funny. It's just like Antifa. They're calling themselves anti-fascist, but they are fascists. It's like Ibram X. Kendi. It's like the woke leftist stuff where they say, this is anti-racism. Well, actually, it's just racism. The May Day demonstrations across the U.S. were the latest in anti-Trump protests that have taken place since his 2024 election victory, which have been orchestrated by groups that have, in part, received this billionaire cash. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put this one on the screen. This is another one from Azra Numani, who's been working with DataRepublican. This is the database of who's involved in No Kings protests. Download the spreadsheet within. I'm going to be consuming it today and adding it to my financing flow. Exclusive. Who is funding the anti-Trump No Kings protest? It is 198 companies with 2.1 billion with a B in revenues. 2.1 billion. Watch and read to learn. I wanted to hear it straight from the source. So on Tuesday, I tuned into this live town hall with Randy Weingarten, the Reverend Al Sharpton from National Action, Leah Greenberg, and others from Indivisible Team. They proudly laid out the nationwide anti-Trump protests that they have planned for this Saturday. By the way, it's not just anti-Trump. These protests are anti-American. These protests are anti-American. They're anti-family. That they've planned for this Saturday, June 14th, under the banner No Kings. I recorded the town hall, and I'm sharing the video with you here. They admit that they're organizing these protests. They admit it. And they're not grassroots players. These are top-tier Democratic Party operatives with enormous influence and funding. But when I started following the money behind the full list of protest partners, I realized that these three are just the tip of the iceberg. According to research by the Pearl Project, a nonprofit journalism initiative I led, named in honor of Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl, the 198 organizations that say they are organizers of the No Kings protest are not just grassroots citizens. They're all aligned with the Democratic Party, and many claim to be, quote, nonpartisan, despite acting as political operatives. Together, these groups report more than $2.1 billion in total annual revenue. So she's summarized all this into a Fox News article, and then also created a database of all this, and is now working with DataRepublican. They're working together to put all this information out so that you can follow this money. So she says, why follow the money? Because from Los Angeles to DC, we have seen these protests escalate into violence over and over and over. That's me inserting that, but it's over and over and over. We've seen this over and over. From the BLM rally in Texas, where they gunned down, where a sniper killed police officers, to the assassination attempts on Trump, to the killing of the 2 Israeli embassy guests, most recently, to all the people, including David Dorn, who were killed during the BLM Summer of Love riots, to the riots happening now in Los Angeles and in Austin. They're arresting Antifa freaks and losers at these, trying to do the same thing here. It's over and over and over. It's violence. Who's funding it? Right? So she says, because from LA to DC, we've seen these protests escalate into violence, and we must understand who is behind them and understand why. These are not mom and pop protesters. They're not. But let me interject here. But they get the mom and pop people to come out. The mom and pop people are the useful idiots, the useful tools throughout history. That's who they are. These clueless schmucks. And yes, many of them, some of them have a good heart. They're completely duped. Some of them don't have a good heart. It's a mixed bag. But those are the clueless schmucks out in the streets with all of these anarchist, anti-capitalist, anti-American, socialist, Marxist, communist groups. So she says, these are not mom and pop protesters. This is an elite class of political influencers using nonprofit structures to operate like a shadow government. Yes, they do. And they are a shadow government. Do you know why she says that? Because they're taking our money to do it. They're taxing us to do it, to destroy our cities, to destroy our country, to destroy our way of life. She says, just look at their annual salaries. And these are some of the people she mentioned. Al Sharpton, $648,000 a year. Randy Weingarten, $474,000. The ACLU's Anthony Romero, $1.3 million. Fairfax County citizen Lissa Kenkel, who helped me cull the financial data, puts it well. Quote, The very people bankrolling and leading these so-called grassroots movements are the crowned royalty of the nonprofit world, sitting in their air-conditioned offices, collecting six-figure salaries while encouraging the common folk to torch their own cities in the name of saving democracy. That's what you guys are supporting. Do you want to know why I have so much contempt? It's because you allow yourself to be used this way. Quote, it's manufactured chaos sold as revolution by people who wouldn't last 5 minutes in the rubble that they are creating. Here's the No Kings protest funding breakdown, and I'll list all the groups in a thread. 3 official entities of the Democratic National Committee: the College Democrats of America, Manhattan Young Democrats, and West Side Democratic headquarters in Norwalk, California. 16 different Democratic political action committees are involved in this tomorrow, or PACs, including Friends of Bernie Sanders, Progressive Democrats of America, and Vote Blue, with about $19.4 million in spending power for Democratic political candidates. 18 Democratic-aligned 501c5 labor unions, including lead organizer, the American Federation of Teachers, along with the United Auto Workers, the Communications Workers of America, and the National Treasury Employees Union, with a total of $1.1 billion in revenues. Most of their political contributions going to Democratic candidates. 76 Democratic-aligned 501c4 political nonprofits, including the ACLU, the Sierra Club, guys, the League of Conservation Voters, Working Families Organization, Human Rights Campaign, of course. There's your queer gay arm of woke, right? Planned Parenthood Action Fund. There you go. There's your feminist woke organization. Lead organizer, Indivisible Project, all with another $734.3 million in revenues. There are 47 501c3 nonprofits legally restricted from partisan advocacy, including innocuous sounding groups like the Unitarian Universalist Association, Accountable US, and the American Humanist Association, with $286.7 million to the cause. 38 additional Democratic-aligned groups, including Michigan Resistance Coalition, Families Over Billionaires. We just saw who funds that. Families Over Billionaires is funded by a Swiss billionaire. It's his org. 5051, Tax the Greedy, Billionaire and Mennonite Action, with undisclosed financials. Total 198 groups with $2.1 billion with a B in annual revenue behind these No Kings grassroots protests tomorrow. But this isn't just about June 14th. Many of the same groups also organized earlier protests like Tesla Takedown, Hands Off, and May Day. Again, it's always the same people. In those protests, we identified 267 more organizations with a combined $1.3 billion in annual revenue. That brings the total to 475 organizations, $3.4 billion with a B in annual budgets. All aligned against Trump's movement. But it's not Trump's movement. I don't like her language on this. They're aligned against the American people. They're aligned against our system of government. They're aligned against our laws. They're aligned against families, our culture. They're aligned against private property, against capitalism. And we're not done. My database includes another 1,500 plus organizations, many involved in the anti-Israel protests and the anti-ICE demonstrations. It's all the same people. And other coordinated mass mobilizations. Stay tuned for these results. This is not a grassroots movement. This is a billion-dollar machine dressed in protest gear. It's 100%. None of this is new. We know this. It's just nice to have it all spelled out. And a lot of you leftists, the mom and pop types, the more normie wokies, the social media keyboard warrior types, you guys clearly, I don't know, maybe you just don't think about it. Maybe you don't think about who's organizing it. I don't think you think very much at all, honestly. Not deeply. So Azra Nomani has some ways to help her there. You can donate, you can DM her, you can help out with this research that she's doing. And as I mentioned, she is now also working with DataRepublican, which is great. I've got a couple more things, but I think I would just be repeating some of the same. Well, let me show you this one before. This is a Daily Caller thing. The article I can't show you because I had to turn off my ad blocker and I couldn't get it the ad blocker to go off. So, but you should read this article. The Daily Caller scoop: the leader of a PAC involved in organizing upcoming protests against federal immigration enforcement is also a director of a taxpayer-funded group with extensive ties to Beijing's intelligence network. And here's the article exclusive: anti-ICE org backing national protest is led by a member of a CCP tied group. There's all this dark money, foreign money, billionaire money, and taxpayer money. It's just this toxic soup of funding for these expensive riots meant to destroy our country. Eclectic Company says, congrats on getting an ad blocker. Yeah, I did, but it made it so that I couldn't show you the Daily Caller article. Although, wait a minute, I might be able to. Let me stop this because I have it open in Safari. Nah, it's okay. You guys go read it. I'm feeling a little under the weather, as I mentioned, so I've got to tap out. I've covered almost everything I wanted to show you guys. If you're going to these riots tomorrow, be safe, be careful. There's one happening in Austin. There's others happening around Austin, like Taylor, Pflugerville, or Round Rock, I think, all the usual places. If you're going, just be very safe and don't take any bait that you see. Of course, don't stoop to their level. Don't do what they want you to do. If you're there just to document, just document. If you're there to have some laughs, have some laughs. But don't stoop to their level. Randy. Oh, hey, Randy. For $10. Thanks, Randy. He says, I joined late. Here's a few bucks because you're awesome. Going to the Pew Pew range tomorrow because America. You guys should join me. Stay out of the cities. Happy anniversary. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. I'm not feeling so great. So, and my husband's working tomorrow. So I don't think I will be going to the Pew Pew range, but what a great day. Thank you, Randy, for supporting Deprogrammed. Okay, I want to show you guys. I told you I would show you this song by my husband, something positive to round out the day of ranting. I've got to pull this up. I love this song so much. This piano album of his is just beautiful. I love every song. There's no vocals on it. It sounds like it's like a soundtrack to a movie that doesn't exist yet. And here, let me see. Oh, I made a slideshow of pictures of us too, and I set it to his song. Hey kids, I figured out how to do a reel. That's why I did a boomer. Like, oh, I figured out how to do reels. Okay, here we go. Now, I don't know if the audio will work on this, but we'll see. You can go and stream the whole album or buy the whole album at anthonygarciamusic.bandcamp.com, or you can just go to anthonygarciamusic.com and there's like links there to go and figure out where to stream it if you want to hear it or buy it. We'll see if this plays. Oh, no sound? Ah, that's what I thought. I'm just sitting here enjoying it, and I thought you guys could hear it. Okay. We'll save it for another time. My audio, after that first video, my audio, I got a little pop-up that it stopped working, which I have to figure out. But anyway, it's a beautiful song. Go and listen to it. You can stream it for free, or you can buy it if you want to buy it at anthonygarciamusic.com. It's called The Story of Us. He is going to let me create a music video for it, which I'm very excited about. And we might have some friends who are going to be in it. So that's going to be fun. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out today. Michael Collier for $9.99. Happy anniversary. Good luck with the new writing gig. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was very good news. So I'll let you guys know if it impacts my schedule at all. Here's the website. Thanks, Robert. AnthonyGarciaMusic.com. It's a really good album to put on in the background. It's that kind of music. It's so good. Okay. I'm going. Have a great week. Oh, there was one other thing I starred just to show you. Ron Copperman said this early in the chat. And Ron, you're right. He says, Keri, best I can say is I feel a spirit of anger and it may be on both sides. This is not good. I agree. I feel it too. You know, I hear you. Don't take the bait if you go to any of these things. Stay safe. Okay. Oh, well, if you didn't like the show today, here's the complaint line. It's 1-719-266-2837. Again, if you have any complaints about today's episode, you can dial 1-719-266-2837 and leave your complaints there. Okay. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.